Hey, I'm excited to share and welcome you to the Investment Competition Podcast, Trial by Fire. I'm going to take a quick second and explain that I've started a competition with some of the members of my family. The general concept can be summed up as a fantasy football for stocks, where we each stimulate buying $100 worth of a chosen stock and discuss it. Each week, we will each pick a new stock and add it to our respective portfolios. And then the participant with the lowest overall performance and weakest portfolio at the end of the 52-week-long competition agrees to walk through fire on top of hot coals, provided I can figure out how to do that in a safe environment. And now that I figured out who the loser is probably going to be, I'm going to focus on making sure it's a safe environment because I don't want them to be physically injured for the rest of their lives because they have 2 daughters to take care of. And a wife, 2 daughters and a wife. All right. But as fun as that is, I'm going to get us kicked off and started here and share my overall portfolio. I'll start off that I have taken back first place from Faith. Faith was in first place last week. I took it back mostly because Faith, Michael, and Jacob decided to handicap themselves for no good reason. Changes in my overall portfolio for this week. Let me see here. Not too many changes. I think Rivian is up 50 cents from last week. Other than that, nah. Oh, and GFL is up, like 50 cents as well. Other than that, nothing to report on my first 8 weeks there. My second half here, I had one dividend paid out. It was like 62 or 64 cents paid out to my nationwide NASDAQ 100 options ETF fund. Still net negative on that. I got a couple more dividends coming up. And as hard of a time as I'm going to give Michael and Faith and Jacob, I do believe that I just made a small error with my investment strategy with Johnson & Johnson. I had a good thesis for investing in Johnson & Johnson. That was my week 15 pick right here. And I'll go into like my thesis, okay? You guys have all pretty much heard of Johnson & Johnson. And my thesis for investing in them was mostly based off of outdated data, okay? So the outdated data that I was going off of. Have you guys ever heard of the company Band-Aids?
Yes.
Johnson & Johnson owns the name brand Band-Aids, all right? You guys know what Tylenol, Bengay, Motrin, or Benadryl is?
I mean, I've never heard of Bengay before. I've never been gay, so.
Bengay is a topical cream for pain relief and joint pain, muscle pain. What about Lactaid, Listerine, Aveeno, Neutrogena? You guys ever smelled a new baby before? Johnson & Johnson used to own all of that. Okay. And in fact,
new baby smell?
Johnson & Johnson, and my baby smells like a new baby, so.
Your baby smells like a new baby. And when you think of the new baby smell, you think of the Johnson's baby shampoo. That is like the new baby smell, you know?
No, I don't. But go ahead, continue on.
Okay. They also own like Neosporin, some other, or they used to own it. Okay. So this goes back to something that Jacob pointed out earlier in the podcast. If you ask ChatGPT or Google Gemini something, it's going to be pretty accurate, but not always 100% accurate. So if you ask, hey, Google, who owns Band-Aids? They're going to tell you Johnson & Johnson. Or any of those other ones, Tylenol, they're going to answer Johnson & Johnson. And that used to be true up until August of 2023. And I was basing 50% of my decision to invest in Johnson & Johnson based off of that information. I've been looking at Johnson & Johnson for a while. And in my mind, I was like, all right, a good price point to get into Johnson & Johnson would be $152 or lower. And then I see them going up to $193 within the next 3 months to 1 year time frame. Okay. So they have some room to grow. And I was sitting down and I was talking with Michelle, and I'm like, hey, I'm not sure who to invest in. None of the companies that I want to invest in are currently at the price point I want to invest in at, And she's like, well, if you're anticipating that it's going to go up, does it really matter that you get in at that lower price point? It's like, well, if I'm anticipating to go up, you're absolutely right. So I pulled the trigger on Johnson & Johnson this week, and I was double checking some of my things. And I was like, oh yeah, they own Listerine, they own Lactate, they own Tylenol and Band-Aids, and then Johnson & Johnson was one of 2 companies that has a AAA credit rating. All right. So if I ask you guys, like, how's your credit score? Don't answer that publicly. But like, I don't know where you guys are at, but Johnson & Johnson has a AAA credit rating. They're one of 2 companies that has a AAA credit rating. The United States no longer has a AAA credit rating. They've been reduced down to a AA credit rating. So Johnson & Johnson and Microsoft were the only ones. But that data was based off of August 2023. So I don't know if that is still true. And in August of 2023, all those companies that I own, they split off into a different company, and they sold that company off, and they are no longer even a majority shareholder in that publicly traded company. So I was like, oh, shoot. Now, Johnson & Johnson still has a lot of tailwinds coming up behind it. They recently got FDA approval in the United States for 2 drugs. One of them is super exciting and makes a lot of sense to me. They are the second company to have a non-chemotherapy cancer treatment. Now, the cancer treatment is for a specific type of lung cancer. Lung cancer affects like 1 in 16 to 1 in 18 adults in America. So it's not like super common, but it's common enough. And then the specific type of lung cancer that Johnson & Johnson has the treatment for, the second only company to have non-chemo treatment for, affects like 10 to 30% of those individuals who get lung cancer. So the numbers work out to like 1 in 100 to 1 in 130 people in America will, be in need of Johnson & Johnson's non-chemo cancer treatment. So that's super exciting. And then the other FDA approval that they got was for a irritable bowel syndrome treatment. Now, what's funny about that is they already have an IBS treatment that takes up 75% of the market share. And they're like, what would be fun is if we had another IBS treatment. And I don't know why they would do that, because they already own 75% of the market share for IBS. I don't know what a second drug would qualify for, other than like maybe it has different side effects or it treats it better. It's really hard for me to say because I don't know anything about science. I just invest off of my feelings. So
Hey,
yeah, that's what I got about. Oh, and then Johnson & Johnson also got some type of medical approval for a drug in the EU. And then they also recently acquired a cardiac company called V-Wave for an upfront $600 million that will probably end up being a total cost of $1.1 billion to $1.7 billion, called V-Wave, is a company that they just acquired. And that has something to do with putting a stent in the left ventricle of the heart, I think during open heart surgery. I could be wrong on that. Maybe it's just, I don't know. Again, more science, I don't know, but they acquired a company. So with the recent drug approvals, which I'd like to point out that ENDRA Life Sciences has not gotten, and with the recent, company acquisition that they got, They do have tailwinds, even if they no longer own a lot of the major name brand consumer health products that I used to know Johnson & Johnson for. Yeah, what's up, Mike?
You know what two companies have a AAA rating?
Microsoft and Johnson & Johnson, but that data was of August 2023. I don't know if that is still accurate.
Okay. But you bought them because you were excited about something, and then you found out it was
a little outdated.
Oh. Okay. But you're still excited about this company.
Yeah, less excited. The consumer health products that they used to own used to bring in $15 billion in 2022 and $15.2 billion in 2023. So like that was super reassuring because they do a lot of research and development and acquisitions of pharmaceuticals and pharmaceutical companies, which, you know, is a lot riskier than consumer health products that had like not guaranteed revenue, but pretty consistent revenue. But
so they could buy out ENDRA, huh?
They could. So, well, and then with the company that they just acquired, I'm assuming like their credit rating came into play with that. So maybe their credit rating is due to be downgraded or something like that. It's really hard for me to know anything because I was going off of old information when I chose JNJ. And again, I got in $12 higher than I would have liked overall for this company. I still see this company, again, off of the old data that I had. I was expecting them to like reach a price point of like 190 or higher. But I think I have to reevaluate that number because that was including their segmenting in consumer health products. And now I got to figure out how to reevaluate this company, even though it's already a part of my portfolio.
So, John, it seems you're critical of your decision, but you did a crap ton of additional research to make up for the fact that you're critical of your own decision, correct?
Yeah, I make a decision and then I look for so much confirmation bias, and usually I'm pretty good at finding my confirmation bias, but I just got really shaky here.
So let me give you a little bit of help here. All right. Johnson & Johnson is an old ass company. They've been around forever. They have products everywhere. They have their finger in everything health and beauty related. All right. They pay out a dividend. They're a solid company. If you look at their max history, it's all up. It's all moving forward. They've never had a major dip. They've never yes, they have ups and downs like all stocks, but they're always consistently moving up. All right. And just for a confirmation bias on that, if you look at their max price, or what a stock price, February of 2021. Okay, that is when they released their COVID-19 vaccination. Okay. After that, their price didn't skyrocket. Their price didn't. The COVID vaccine that they produced and put out there, just like the whatever other companies I forget, the mRNA crap ones, they put theirs out and their stocks like skyrocketed, right? Because that was their main product.
And Moderna, yeah.
Pfizer and Moderna, yes. Johnson & Johnson, they weren't dependent on the vaccine shot to make or break their business. Their business was already made. All right. That was just one more thing that they put their finger in. Now, if you look at the consequences since then, now that there have been more reporting on adverse effects of the vaccine and, that the virus itself may or may not have been all that bad, their stock price didn't drop dramatically. They've been holding steady ever since. They're one of the tried and true American companies that are out there that it's like AT&T. It's just a safe bet. They're not going up as exponentially and they're not dropping dramatically. They're just a decent, steady company. So my judgment, decent pick, safe pick, non-volatile pick. You did good.
Yeah, non-volatile, but another small area concern of mine is that their current CEO became the CEO in 2022, which means he either led or he finished the divestiture of their consumer health products in August of 2023. All right, he definitely finished the process. I don't know if he started it, but like he's a relatively new CEO for Johnson and Johnson, and I don't know how much he's been tested or pushed back on. So again, like overall, historically, Johnson and Johnson, solid pick, up and up and up. But a new CEO that because he's only been around since 2022. I don't know. It only takes one person to lead shit into the ground, you know?
Hey,
No.
you guys want to hear something interesting?
Yeah.
You guys ready for this?
Yeah.
The company introduced the world's first maternity kit in 1894 to aid at-home births, called Dr. Simpson's Maternity Packet, presumably after Scottish obstetrician James Young Simpson. The kit included washcloths, safety pins, sterile sutures, sponges and gauze, antiseptic soap, an obstetrics sheet and ligatures, flannel wrap for the baby, and a chart for keeping birth records. The products were later marketed separately, including Lister's towels, the world's first mass-produced sanitary napkins. Isn't that interesting?
That's so
That is
interesting.
interesting.
By the way,
Yeah,
their names are really
they
cool.
do have a lot of history in the company.
Their names are
All
really
right.
cool.
Yeah.
Robert Wood Johnson and James Wood Johnson. Their dad is a legend. I just want you to know that.
I understand what you're saying and I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
All right. With that, I don't have much else to add to this, but yeah, we'll see how this goes. There's a lot of potential behind them right now. I'm just hoping I'm on the right end of it.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we got Jacob and his overall portfolio.
Looks good. Looks good.
Well, Red.
You said
Yeah,
looks
pardon me.
good.
Pardon me not staring at your screen, but I have my own little spreadsheet that I have that I look at the comparison over the longer period. So the prices you have up there are wonderful. It shows where they currently are. But what I look at is where it's been the entire time I have invested in it. So each week, what the change has been. So yeah, generally, my biggest fault at the moment, and I'm going to stress at the moment, is ENDRA. The biggest killer at the moment, which is fine. I was trying not to say anything last week, especially when I heard both Mike and Faith were going to be investing in ENDRA, but I knew it was going to be a loser that week, 100%. In the history of stocks doing a reverse split, and I knew the reverse was coming. I knew it was coming. It was right around the corner. It was going to hit any day. And as soon as they had their earnings call, as soon as they talked about their quarterlies, I knew it was going to happen. Nothing ever improves after a reverse split. A reverse split is generally known as, oh my God, this stock is dying. This company is failing. They're trying to, shore up, and it's bad, right? This company is bad, and that's generally true. Okay, I was extremely satisfied seeing the quarterly earnings report. They even released with their quarterlies the balance sheet for the last 3 to 6 months, which I'm extremely happy when I'm reading through it. So I knew last week was going to be a loser, and I wasn't going to be putting any money in it, and I'm glad that I didn't, because it was a big loser last week. But in the long run, this company has a future. Okay. Not many companies come back from a reverse stock split and are successful. And I'm not saying that this is the next Johnson & Johnson company, but I do believe that this company is going to see success in the next year. They've made some major shakeups in their board and in, you know, the top tier management of the company, and it's all good things. They reduced, you know, I'm kind of leading into what my choice is this week. I'm leaving off, you know, you have the whole list there on all my picks for the last 2 weeks or whatever, or last, you know, not 2 weeks, the last 15 weeks. But I'm kind of going right into what my pick is this week. I am reinvesting in ENDRA. This is the third time I'm tripling down. Okay. I don't think the price is going to fall much more, but even if it does, my prediction is, and this is a little bit of a gamble. All right. But by week 52, my prediction is that this stock is going to be a moneymaker for me. All right. They have increased where they are doing their clinicals. They have now U.S.-based clinical trials going on. They have 2 separate locations. They have U.S.-based clinicals going on. They've had good talks with the FDA, and it's all moving forward. But what I like the most, and I know nobody likes numbers because everybody hires somebody to do their tax return. I like looking at this balance sheet. All right. They have cash. They have minimal debts. They have, you know, the only loan they have is $180,000. That's the only loan that they currently have. That's not debt. They don't owe anyone money. Now they do owe investors money, but that's all up in the air, obviously, because obviously if they go bankrupt, that's not going to negatively hurt them because they don't have to pay anyone out if they bankrupt. I'm not concerned about that whatsoever. And I'm glad that this balance sheet came up because I also get to see what their sales and marketing is currently, and what their income is currently. Currently, and I know, John, this was a huge question mark for you. Their income in the last 6 months, which why would they have any income whatsoever? They don't have any products, right? They're not selling anything. Well, they did have some income. They had $6,500 in sales, which is not a whole lot, but it's sales. They are putting all of their expenses and efforts into their sales and marketing. They are no longer developing. They're done developing their product. So they pulled more money out of that, and now they're putting more money into the outreach and the clinicals and the cutting through the red tape and all that stuff to try and get this product to market. Their estimate is this product goes to market in the middle of next year. All right. Now, I have on my list here that week 52 is May 9th. So week 52, we're going to have a pick, right? We have to have a pick on the final week, which means on week 53, a week later, I am just really hoping that their estimate of middle of 2025 comes a little bit early. And that's why it's a little bit of a gamble. All right. Because if it pans out that it comes early next year, this is a moneymaker for me. And I guarantee you it's going to bring me back all my money that I put into it. All right. If it happens to not, the rule for stocks is always you haven't lost your money unless you sell. So in the long run, because I believe, where was it? Week 12, I invested a real $100 into this. All right. I'm not going to lose that $100. By at the latest, I would say fall of 2025, I'm going to get my money back. They're going to have sales. This product is going to be successful. It's going to be great. All right. I'm not concerned. I haven't lost anything because I haven't sold. So I'm going to make my money back, and I'm not even concerned. I'm extremely excited about this. The balance sheet looks great. They have almost no debt. They're putting all their expenses in the right place. They're on the right track with getting the FDA approval. This is the best balance sheet that I could possibly look at right now for this company in the position they are in. I think they are undervalued in the market, and I think it's going to be great for me in the end. So that's all I got.
Wow. John, you okay?
Cheers.
All I can say all I can say is that I do hope that you're right, because I do know that you put real money into this, And that, like, again, I hope that you're right and that I'm wrong. But to look at this by the numbers, right? You've now invested a real $100, a total of $300 for the competition. In order for you to net even, this stock has to go up more than 150% at its current price per share right now. 150%. Totally possible. There are companies that gain over 100% every single day in the market. There just happens to be more companies that get delisted and go bankrupt than the number of companies that gain over 100%.
You're not wrong. I don't think they're going to go bankrupt because of their debt specifically. There's nothing that they have enough funds, they have enough cash on hand, they have enough investment that they can run for quite some time right now.
How much cash do they have on hand?
$6.4 million.
All right, so let's run some math right now, okay? They got 22 employees, $6.4 million. You said they just hired a new CFO, right?
Yeah.
With a very handsome compensation. All right. Let's just say that compensation is $200,000. I have no idea. I've done zero research into this company. Let's just say that is $200,000 annually. All right. I don't know. They're 20 employees, probably net 40 to 60,000. So let's do 40. 40 times 20 is $800,000. So cash on hand to just pay salaries. Yeah, they got enough runway for 5 years. But you said they still need to cut through red tape. They still have marketing to do. They still have offices and product to manufacture, or at least software to maintain and then send out. Like in theory, if it's just salaries, they got runway for 5 years. It's probably 2 years at most.
Not necessarily. So the things on a balance sheet aren't just cash. All right. Their total assets as of right now, which includes inventory, which includes prepaid expenses, and the cash and other assets, is over $10.4 million in assets. All right.
Okay.
When they start selling off things because they're running out of funds, I'll be concerned. But they have $6.4 million in the bank at the moment. They're doing all of the right things. The hiring of this new CFO is, I think, probably one of the biggest changes that is going to be their success. So let's see, where was it? The new chief financial officer has over 20 years of experience in financial management and accounting and has held the role of CFO at several technology companies. On top of that, they have a new head of regulatory and clinical affairs. One of the board members was appointed as the new acting CEO. And let's see, brings a combined 2 decades of experience in the medical device industry as a leader in clinical operations and regulatory affairs for emerging startups and high growth businesses. I 100%, I believe they've made all the correct steps for their reverse stock split, which is generally a terrible sign for a business. And usually only 5% of businesses come back and are successful afterwards. They're going to be one of the 5%. I think they've made all of the correct steps. They did all of the right things. They're putting their money in all of the right places. And they have a product that's fantastic that's going to be coming out. So I'm 100% excited.
To be fair, we've also seen 2 other reverse stock splits so far in the past 15 weeks. One of them is definitely successful with NVIDIA. And the
Was that a
other
reverse
one,
split?
Yeah. Their number of shares. Oh, that was a regular split.
Yeah, that's why it's different.
Okay, you're right. We have not seen a reverse split. You're right. All right. Sorry.
That's all right.
Sorry. The other one would have been
It's the first
Chipotle, but that was a
reverse split
regular split too. Yeah, what's up, Mike?
Hey, so fiscal year ended in 2023, right? I know they had some changing, but these are the 3 peeps that I see right here. Is Michael Thornton, Chief Technology Officer, okay? Total compensation, $531,977. Francis
So
Michelin.
I super lowballed it.
Francis Michelin, Chief Executive Officer, $646,787. Irina Pestrovica. Oh, she has a different last name. Pestrikova, Senior Director of Finance, $214,724. Now, I want you to know that each of these isn't just cash compensation. Hers is mostly cash compensation with maybe about 10% equity. The other two are almost split 50-50 between cash compensation and equity, and everything should be filed on a proxy, on a DAF 14A document, on a proxy statement that they have to file within 120 days of the end of the fiscal year.
Okay.
Some
All right,
interesting.
yeah.
Even though he makes
So-
500,000 a year, 250,000 of that is he owns part of the company.
Right.
Right. So like maybe I wasn't too far off with like my estimate then. But like I
Salary.com, by the way.
I'm hoping that your thesis for this company is correct.
I want
looked at
to
a lot
lose,
of
John
balance
says.
sheets. One thing specifically that stands out to me, all right? So on a balance sheet, you have the top part, which is the assets, which includes
Mhm.
cash, inventory, things that make your business valuable, right? And then on the bottom half, you have liabilities, things that drag your business down, things you have to pay off, things stuff like that. Current assets, like I said before, $10.4 million. Okay. Total liabilities, stab in the dark. What do you think it is?
Total liabilities?
Yep.
Well, the quantifiable part, you said they have $180,000 loan. What insurance would probably be counted towards liability. So like 225, 250K in liabilities, but that's not including legal liability, potential legal liabilities. That's an undefined liability.
So, and
You're
part of
muted.
what you said before, legal liabilities, that's not part of the balance sheet. Part of what you said before, which was their compensation. So when they sign somebody and they sign for salary, they're committed and they have a liability to pay out that salary, even if, let's say, the CFO leaves, right? They have to pay him out, depending on what the contract states. And all different salary contracts are different, right? But generally, if you have people who are, high paid like that, they wouldn't come on if they didn't have a contract to get paid out. So that can be a liability because it's something they have to pay, which are accounts payable, and accrued liabilities. So if you include that, it's money that they have to pay out. Their current liabilities in total is $1.4 million, which gives them a $9 million value compared to from between their assets and their liabilities. They're in the positive by $9 million, right? A company that's failing would not have that kind of ratio.
Okay. 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 Then you have me 25% more convinced than you did previously. All right. Because if you're saying they have $10 million cash on hands and they only got $1 million in liabilities and their market cap is only $3 million, then yeah, by definition, they'd be super undervalued. They would be super undervalued. I'll buy that.
Now, once they start making sales actually on this product, once this product comes to market the middle of next year, what's their market cap? What kind of balance sheet are we looking at with assets on that end?
Yeah, then you get into like the actual company multiples for the industry. Yeah. Oh, okay. Maybe I'll buy that for $1. Maybe I'll buy that for $1. That they might be undervalued. That's a bit more convincing of an argument. Okay.
Now, back to my speech last week. when I discussed this business because I knew the stock split was coming, so that wouldn't have been a good week to invest in it. And honestly, I wasn't planning on tripling down on this stock. I doubled down on it before, and I was satisfied with that because I had hope in the company. Now that I've seen this balance sheet, that's what convinced me to triple down. Okay, and like what I said last week, they have what I think 81 patents on part of the technology and other pieces of the technology that goes into this product and other products. And they're undervalued, right? Worst case scenario, they get bought out, right?
Yeah, but again, in
They
order
get
for
bought
you,
out. I'm almost certain it's going to be more than $5 a share. I'm
There's
almost
no way.
certain, and I'm almost certain more than $5 a share they get bought out at.
they would not get paid out more than 1.5x of their market cap. They would not be paid more than $5 million for
If they
for
have
the
$9
company.
million in assets, then yes, they would get paid more than $3 million.
Hey.
You can't buy $9 million in assets in the positive, in the green, for under $3 million. And so number one, I can't imagine them selling because they don't have any sort of debts or loans that would cause them to sell out, right? They have plenty of cash on hand to make it run for the next, like you said, 5 years. And their goal is middle of next year to have this product in market. Once this product is in market, it just goes up from there, right? So they have $9 million in assets. If they get bought out between now and when they get that product to market, maybe it drops down to $7 million in assets. You're still not going to buy that out for $3 million. Plus the 81 patents that they have out there, the intellectual property, they're going to get bought out for more than $5 a share. I 100%, I'm confident.
All right, you guys want some stuff?
Yeah, what do you got, Mike?
So AI overview says as of August 23, 2024, some say ENDRA Life Sciences stock is undervalued. Price to book ratio, ENDRA's stock has price to book ratio of 0.11, which suggests it may be undervalued compared to its book value. Price target, according to Fintel, the average 1-year price target of ENDRA is $8.16 with a range of 808 to 840. The average target represents a 19,751 12% change from the last price of 0.04. Wall Street analysts, according to Tip Ranks, Wall Street analysts say that ENDRA's price is currently undervalued. However, ENDRA's financial performance indicators may present challenges. For example, the company reported a loss of 9.6 million in operating income and minus $4 in earnings per share for the quarter ending August 22nd, 2024. But TipRank still has it locked in. Their analysts have it locked in as a moderate buy. So I don't know. I don't think it's bad.
If their operating costs are $9 million a quarter or $9 million a year, that changes everything.
That's AI overview.
I don't know what AI overview is. It doesn't sound like ChatGPT or Google Gemini.
I'm pretty
Which,
sure that's the
again,
Google search Gemini thing. Yeah.
yeah. All right.
Generative AI is experimental for financial advice. Consult a professional. Learn more.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess timing is everything for Jacob.
Yep.
I'll keep an open mind with this. Maybe I'll hate a little less, but yeah,
We'll see. I'm
we'll
sure
see.
you guys will keep on the hate, and that's fine. I'll take it. I'm confident. I like it.
Hey, just so you guys know, I'm wondering if it put these up too, because there's a Yahoo Finance heading. It says ENDRA Life Sciences, stock price news, and then there's investing.com, India, NASDAQ, Fintel. They have all these headers for articles, and I think that's where it pulled it from. Just so you guys got a reasonable idea. of like where this is all coming from.
Okay.
It's very interesting.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
moving on. Next up, we got David and his overall portfolio. You're in third place.
You bumped Faith from first and stuck in the middle.
You
In the middle
you
with
stayed
you.
the same.
All right, Dave, what do you any notes for us on your overall portfolio here?
Overall portfolio. I remember last week I was chit-chatting over the fact that I did a full portfolio review. And part of that review, I came about that some of my strongest picks, I shouldn't say strongest, some of my most used picks. So what apparently I had a developed interest in was somewhere between tech and dividend. And that's why some of my portfolio isn't recovering quite yet. A lot of that was tech that got hit when we had that bullshit going on. And even now, some of the stuff like QQQ, where it's invested in multiple funds, stuff like that isn't going to recover for a while. I am in the process of diversifying my portfolio. Because if it's not tech and it's not dividend, it didn't make it in there until last week when I chose Murphy Oil, which is in the energy sector. So I didn't want to stick with the energy sector. I wanted to find something new. And that kind of leads into this week's pick. Sorry. I'm kind of skimming the whole portfolio because they did talk about it last week. Jumping into the new pick, I went for something called Moody's, and it's been under a blue chip price range for a little bit. It is still considered dividend, so obviously I still got my vices. But it actually falls under financial services, and the reason that it falls under financial services is because I started looking at the banks, and I was like, oh, I should invest in something like Chase or Bank of America or Capital One, or and I'm looking at these different banks, and I'm remembering what you said probably about 2 weeks ago, and then like another 3 weeks before that was that a couple banks in the U.S. right now are failing, and they're not just failing; they're doing so bad that they might have to uh, end up just not existing anymore. And that's a wild thing to think of. So obviously we can look at the banks that we know and trust, and we can say stuff like, Capital One or Bank of America, that some of these big wigs have their money invested to, isn't a bank that's failing. You're smiling.
Silicon Valley was the same size as some of the banks that you've mentioned, and that was one of the largest bank failures. And they're saying that's a regional sized bank. There's a lot more regional sized banks at risk. And there's not a lot of regional sized banks in the US.
Again, that's wild to think of. So I didn't know Silicon Valley was one of the banks that failed. That actually gives me a good starting point on things to look up later. But overall,
SVB.
what's up?
SVB.
Thank you, buddy.
Super interesting case.
I decided that overall I couldn't decide what was what. I can look at something like Capital One and Bank of America, and I can say, Berkshire Hathaway, that portfolio that's owned by God, I can't
Warren
think of his
Buffett.
name. Warren Buffett. He's invested in both of those banks. And that's why it's like, oh, they're probably trustworthy. But then you got to think ahead. Some of these guys know when stuff like that is going to fail, and they use it as their tax write-offs for it being a failure. And that's how they don't pay taxes. So I don't want to fall into the trap of having something invested that he's invested in that ends up being his fault. So I didn't choose a bank, and I chose Moody. Moody is a credit rating, research, and risk analysis company. A lot of the stuff that they do is the position in credit ratings, and really they just kind of move their own money around, making money by putting it where it should be and then taking it out when it shouldn't be in there. It's investing and investing. They do not have a huge dividend. From what I read, it started at like 0.3% of a dividend yield. And even now it's only up to like 0.9, but it has been showing steady growth. It's never dipped down after they've gone up. So it shows growth. A lot of their free cash flow is about 2 billion right now. And considering that they do have not like a huge amount of debt, but like a medium size, it's decent. It's decent. Some of those numbers were looking good. I was looking at software services for financial risk analysis. And one of the things that they started selling, and they started selling it recently, is software and services for financial risk analytics. And what they're doing is they're taking this program. They made a program and they themselves use it, and they've been selling it to other companies to essentially put up a risk assessment on how much, they're at risk for losing money or where their money's going and why it shouldn't be used like that. I liked that as a financial, stock financial service, that they have a product that they're selling. So it's not just them doing their business, they also have sales. And that was interesting to me. So I made note of it. I don't have too much more. I'm sure if you guys ask a question, I'll go like, oh yeah, I also read, but pick me apart, see what else I know.
I've heard of that before. It says previously known as Moody's Investors Service, previously known as Moody's Analytics, and I've heard of Moody's Analytics before.
You said something. So Miss and Ma, I do have that on another side of my sheet. Moody Investor Services. They were the credit rating, and they were one of the big three for the credit rating agencies alongside the standards for Fitch ratings. And if you guys don't know what that is, kind of think of like Credit Karma and how they give you your credit score. They were doing that. And they were one of the big three. When it comes to Ma, did somebody say something?
No.
Okay. When it comes to the Moody Analytics, and now mind you, these two merged under the one title of
Moody's Core.
Yep, Moody's Corp. All my stuff is written on different sides of the sheets. Moody's Analytics. I don't have too much on that. It had something to do with their data and analytics, and I'm pretty sure that's where they got their program from that they sell. So, yeah. What else you got?
Let's see. What is that? Well, in 2019, Moody's Corporation purchased a majority share of California-based climate risk data firm 24/7 that measures the physical risks of climate change. This acquisition is the latest indication, I almost said indiction, oh my God, that global warming can threaten the creditworthiness of governments and companies globally, according to a July 25th, 2019 article in the New York Times. In 2021, Moody's acquired Risk Management Solutions, RMS, for Daily Mail and General Trust for $2 billion. RMS generates risk models for the insurance and reinsurance industries. Interesting.
It is. I didn't get a chance to read any of that. And on the surface level, it sounds normal and all well. Like, oh yeah, if a government is affected by the weather because they've had shitty droughts that year, and their crops or their produce isn't coming in to make the products that they make, well, at the end of the day, they're going to lose a little bit of money in the world market. or vice versa if they're having, you know, wow, it doesn't matter. The number that they invested into the company for pretty much weather prediction sounds kind of ridiculous, but I guess anything you buy at a company level needs to be that weird number that nobody would pay for anyways.
Wow.
So was it you that had a pick in a prior week that could be a make or break depending on the next administration?
Murphy Oil, and I don't think it's going to be a make or break because long standing the company has been doing well. It's not a huge thing that the change of presidency would like put them under, but a change of presidency would also, you know, give them a shoot up because the different regulations that would come about with the changes
That's the
of
word
that
I wanted.
presidency.
That's the word I wanted.
The
So
shoot up.
Moody's can be a beneficiary of higher regulations. Regulations have benefited incumbents in the ratings business, and regulations on banks can drive growth on Moody's analytics compliance, know your customer, and risk management tools. And that's kind of why I thought of it, because I knew that a change in administration with lower regulations could benefit your oil company. But I would argue that a change in administration with lower regulations could negatively impact Moody's.
I'm sorry, would that be a change in administration? Or would that be the
Regardless,
same?
changing from Biden to somebody new, right? Now, depending on which one is more in favor of oil and which one is more not, and which one is more in favor of higher regulation and which one is more in favor of lower regulation, is completely, you know, personal preference on who wants to vote for who. But I would argue that if a new administration came in and lowered regulations and benefited the oil companies, it would most likely be across the board lower regulations because that was the platform for that individual, and that would negatively impact Moody's.
I agree that it would negatively impact Moody's, but the thing that I'm going to hinge this on is it's not going to be a make or break, like
Right.
like we brought up before, is because Moody's is a global reach. They are in over 40 countries, so one of those little "the more you know" rainbow shows up, and we go, "Ooh, ooh."
I thought that was imagination.
Is it? I thought it was
Yeah,
GI
you're
Joe. You know, the more you know.
You say GI
That's-
Joe?
That's reading Rainbow, you nitwit.
Being rude.
All right. Hey, why did this have $170 price increase over the past year?
Couple of different reasons. One of the biggest ones that I'm aware of is what I named recently. This did fall under the portfolio of the dude, Berkshire Hathaway, and he acquired
13.5% of the company.
Holy cow, look at you. His last investment was $11 billion, which is a shit ton of money. I wish somebody would just toss me some of that. You know?
Yeah,
Maybe-
yeah, but they've seen
Maybe
your
be or
portfolio.
do something worth investing in.
Wow, thank you, buddy. That $11 billion was an additional 13.5% stake in the company. And then in his own holdings, so like his total portfolio, it now makes up 3.8% of his portfolio. And that's just Moody's.
Well, that's disgusting.
It's horrible. People investing money.
That's a nauseating large amount of money. All right. So you're just saying Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway just had that effect?
Obviously, when a big name does something, a lot of people follow suit. So just because he did it doesn't mean that's why it was. I'm absolutely sure that it might have been the release of their software that they've been selling. They do training and certification for companies. They sell the program. I'm trying to find the date that they started selling. It was recent, relatively recent.
No worries. All right.
No worries.
Yeah, if you don't got it, we can move on. I got nothing to hammer you on.
I don't like that I'm in second and not first.
Well, to be fair, you made a silly goose of an investment last week.
Whatever. Royal's still good. Not gonna beat a dead horse in Super Micro. Palantir, love it. Love to see it. Yep, feel pretty good about this first page.
And the second page?
Rockwell, great investment, did well. CrowdStrike's coming back a little bit. That's nice to see. Still feel pretty good about my other stuff. NVIDIA, good. ENDRA, yeah. Fuck you, Jacob. And I doubled down on Palantir Technologies this week. It's been doing well, consistently for a while. So I decided to double down on them. Not too much really to go into detail on that. Last week I said it during the podcast that I was doubling down on them, and that's what I did.
Okay.
You missed my 25-minute overview and analysis of ENDRA and its future, and the fact that I've now tripled down on ENDRA after I knew you guys were going to be a loser last week for picking it, because no stock ever does well after a reverse split. So
He put up a pretty solid defense. I'm a little bit less of a hater, maybe 25% less of a hater. Palantir is one of those companies up over 100% in a 52-week time period, though. So again, it's possible. Was there any news about Palantir that like now is the time to double down and reinvest in them, or?
I did no research this week.
Okay.
Only for the goodie. I'm winning.
Well, yeah, like a week and a half ago, they did have their quarterly earnings reports. Their quarterly earning reports was all good news and everything like that. Still don't know what they do. They do have another partnership with another company. I read somewhere. I don't know. Wasn't keeping track of it. I think Palantir is a good company overall. I don't know if right now is the best time to double down in them. I think with the recent earning calls and the recent partnership, and the explosion of over 100%, I think you're probably going to see a 30% price drop from this point. I think it's gonna go down, like, I don't know, like $6 to $10, and then it'll keep going back up again. Like overall, long term, I think it's great. I just don't know if this is like the perfect time to invest. The first time you invest in it is pretty solid though. I think it'll cover any losses. Doesn't pay any dividends though. Just shrugging. All right.
Short, simple this week.
Huh?
Keeping it short, sweet, and simple.
All right, and that's why you're in second place. Moving on.
Who's in first? You?
Of course, it's me.
For now.
All right. And we had Michael in fourth place here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Mike, your overall portfolio, any comments for the good of the group?
Not bad. Look at that Viper. I'm surprised Devin's down.
Viper did just pay you a dividend
Yeah.
this
That's
past
nice.
week. So
Every little bit
that's,
helps.
yeah, pretty solid, pretty solid.
Look at that. Nvidia's doing decent. Oh,
Yeah.
here's the ad. Man, Hims is still down. What is up with that? And people and their French fries. Come on. I haven't actually looked into that one. I've been meaning to look into it to see how they're doing. Taiwan is doing good. Chevron is down. ENDRA, man, we better buy more of that.
Yeah, ENDRA like really hurt your overall portfolio. You should be at a $1,500 and you're at $1,466. Unacceptable.
Yeah, I know. Well, we'll try again. Double down, right?
Yeah. All right, so tell us about your overall latest stock pick this week here. What do you got?
Well, you know, I got trouble getting off of stuff, and I got on some stuff, and I was not disappointed. I decided to stay inside the oil market because I find that it's refreshing. There it is. Hang on. So I've been doing electrical and energy. So I found another energy company that was hopefully undervalued. Actually, I can't remember why I did this search, but I came across some oil and I was really happy about it. Let's see.
What's the name of it?
Schlumberger. They got a really nice name. I really liked it. Couple $1 billion company. Let's see if I can find what I was looking for. I do all my research on one thing, and then when I'm looking,
2020.
say it one more time.
I said, "Holy crap! What happened to them in 2020 and the months leading up to it? Damn."
Right. So as of 2022, it is both the world's largest offshore drilling company and the world's largest offshore drilling contractor by revenue. These people love to drill. But they're all over. They're in the Netherlands. They're everywhere. They got offices going on. They were ranked 349th in the Forbes Global 2000. It's a fairly large company. They got over 111,000 employees as of 2023, and they're just out there. They're out there doing the drilling. They do well testing. They got it going on. I like it.
Hey, SLB, right? That's Schlumberger.
Yes.
Yeah. Aren't they, didn't they recently do an expansion into Russia despite geopolitical risks?
Hang on a second. I'm only looking that they were indicted by the U.S. For justice sanctions with Iran and Sudan. The company was fined $233 million in 2015. I haven't gotten to the Russian stuff yet.
Okay. There was conflicts with, you know, how there's problems with them in Ukraine. It's drawn criticism and appears to prioritize profits over ethical concerns. So, you know, your company might get slapped with one of those NATO weird fines for not conforming to geopolitical, concern.
It's oil. There's nothing political about it. They put it in their
There's
fancy
nothing
helicopters
political.
and airplanes.
Okay.
When I see these
Mike.
guys start flying around their solar
Okay,
airplanes,
no. I'm all like, oh, hey, they're worried that they're prioritizing profits over ethical concerns. Mike, it's oil. There are no political concerns. So it's only about the profits.
hey, I don't know if you guys knew this, but those fancy windmills take 900 gallons of hydraulic oil to keep them spinning. So, I mean, oil is kind of important, people. These people are out there pumping it. They're putting up the pumping stations. Let's see. The Schlumberger brothers had experience conducting geophysical surveys in countries all over the world. Wow. So yeah, they're a
Wow,
big
what a
company and they drill.
cliffhanger.
Say it again.
Wow, what a cliffhanger.
I know, right?
Hanger, hanging by a cliff.
Just all the different things that they got
Sorry, you
going
don't
on.
have to share with the good of the group.
I don't have to do what?
You don't have to share.
I was trying to find the Russian stuff, but I can't find it. In February 2023, let's see, SLB announced it had completed the acquisition of a Houston-headquartered gyroscopic well boring positioning and survey technology company, Gyrodata Incorporated. I'm not seeing anything about about drilling into Russia there.
Strong presence in North America, the Middle East, Africa, focusing on digital solutions, reservoir performance, and well construction. SLB expansion in Russia, despite. Oh, that's because they haven't expanded there yet. They proposed it. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Let's see. In 2006, Schlumberger purchased the remaining 30% of Western GECO from Baker Hughes. We've all heard that name before. For $2.4 billion. Also that year, Schlumberger Dahl Research Center was relocated to a newly built research facility in Cambridge, Massachusetts, to replace the Ridgefield, Connecticut Research Center. The facility joins other research centers operated by the company in Cambridge, England, Moscow, Russia, Stavanger, Norway, and Tehran, Saudi Arabia. In March 2022, Schlumberger stopped investing in its projects in Russia because of international sanctions during the Russo-Ukrainian War. Oh.
Hey, buddy. I see something else on here. Company is also investing in sustainable energy technologies such as carbon capture and hydrogen to diversify its portfolio and address future energy demands. Have you ever heard of carbon capture? I don't know what that is.
I actually have not.
Mhm.
Sorry,
Carbon
did the 50 gallery
capture-
have something to say?
Carbon capture and storage is a process in which relatively pure stream of carbon dioxide, CO2, from industrial sources is separated, treated, and transported to a long-term storage facility. In CCS, the CO2 is captured from a large point source such as a chemical plant, coal power plant, cement kiln, or bioenergy plant, and typically is stored in a suitable geological formation.
If you're curious about it, I was on their website. I went through like a news and insights tab, and then I ended up clicking on an article, and that's how I got to their their
Interesting.
little link there.
Critics also argue that CCS is only a justification for indefinite fossil fuel usage and equate it to further investments into environmental and social harms related to fossil fuel industry. Globally, a number of laws and rules have been issued, either support or mandate into implementation of CCS. Huh. Let's see. Other countries are developing programs, including Canada, Denmark, China, and the UK. So I just
So
want
do
to
you
capture
remember
the
why
story.
you chose to invest in this, or are you just like researching in front of us?
No, I did not catch the carbon capture before. I just had researched about their drilling for petroleum and groundwater.
Okay.
Let's see.
British offshore drilling company and the world's largest offshore drilling contractor by revenue.
Say it again.
I said, hey, Mike.
Yeah. What do you got?
So I am looking at the press release for the second quarter 2024 results. So this was released July 19th, 2024.
Okay.
All right. And these year-on-year numbers are interesting to me. So their second quarter revenue by geographical area. Year on year, I'm just going to talk percentages. Year on year, their revenue source seems to be changing. It was decreased in North America by 6%, increased in Latin America by 7%, increased in Europe and Africa by 20%, and increased in the Middle East and Asia by 24%. So North America is down 16% and international is up on average 18%. So it seems like they are severely taking their money out of North America and heavily investing in international revenue sources. And to kind of back this up, they have their reservoir performance.
Well, we all
Go ahead.
know how Michael prefers the international companies over the states.
That's
Oh, boy.
that's kind of accurate. So their
Kind of
reservoir
piggyback.
performance, which would indicate, where their current pockets of oil are and where they're pulling from. Internationally, they're up 11%, and domestically, they're up only 4%. Again, it seems like their domestic investments are doing better. And then well construction, so where they're putting up new wells, internationally is up 7%. And domestically is down 18%.
Well, to be
So they're not
fair,
constructing new wells in the U.S. Buddy, I'm really concerned. Are they not putting any money into the into your two favorite words, the Permian Basin?
well, to be fair, like, are they allowed to? Like,
It doesn't
what are the
look like
rules?
they're buying it. They're buying shit in Asia and Europe instead.
Yeah, but I mean, can you imagine paying for permits here? Can you imagine the red tape? Wouldn't you go
It
where business
seems
is a little
like
more
there's
free
a
flowing?
lot
No,
of
I can't
US-based
imagine,
companies
but
that are
they're an
currently
oil
waiting.
company. They should.
Yeah, and if they get a better offer somewhere else.
I mean, I think David's assessment was accurate. They seem to be highly motivated by profits.
That's not a horrific thing in this industry, my guy.
I don't know. It
Which
seemed to hurt
industry?
them in
The oil
2020.
industry or the investing industry?
Oh boy.
We live in a world where, yes, a lot of people care about just making their money. And that's good that that's something that they're keeping as a high priority. But the only priority, they will get betrayed by the people who also recognize that there is public opinion that will sway the stock of their company, that will sway the sellability of their company, all of it, buddy. If they over prioritize just the profit, it could sink them. And it sounds
I-
that
I don't know. They've been around since 1920. They survived the Great Depression. They survived a lot of economic recessions, that like worldwide recessions. I don't know.
Well, it's worth what? 8,451,000. It's 8.5 million. It's in its
The
most recent
market cap?
SEC filing.
The market cap says they're worth $64 billion.
Market cap is different than business valuation.
So listen to this. Are you ready? Highland Capital Management LLC increases holdings in Schlumberger Limited. Highland Capital Management LLC lifted its position in shares of Schlumberger Limited by 79.5% during the second quarter, according to the company in its most recent filing with the Securities and Exchange Commission. The institutional investor owned 179,000 shares of the oil and gas company stock after buying an additional 79,334 shares during the period. Highland Capital Management LLC's holdings in Schlumberger will be worth 8 million. Sorry, my bad. In the most recent SEC filing. No, I don't want to buy
They're
things.
only worth 8 million though, to be honest.
No, what they bought was only worth 8 million. That was my bad.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, you invested in another oil and energy company. We're proud of you. Are we good to move
Yay!
on?
Yeah.
All
yeah.
right. Well then to review, let's get this started. I know it's everybody's favorite part. To review, I invested in Johnson & Johnson. Jacob doubled down on ENDRA. David invested in Moody's.
I tripled down on ENDRA. Thank you. Thank you.
Tripled down on ENDRA. David invested in Moody's, which is a finance and credit rating company. Faith doubled down, only doubled down on Palantir. And Mike chose Schlumberger LTD. I don't know why that says NV right there. Which is an oil and energy company somehow. So here's where I'm at. I think Jacob loses 50% value, so I'm gonna say I'm hating on ENDRA still.
I'm just gonna predict that most everyone's going to hate on me on this one. That's fine.
And let me see. I'm a fan of, I don't know. David already went up a lot. I don't know. I see Johnson & Johnson going up 2% this week. So I'm gonna vote for myself here. Jake, who are you a fan of? Who are you a hater of?
Keeping myself out of the equation just because I like to keep things interesting. I would say I'm a fan of Johnson & Johnson. Let's see here. And it's a tough one for a hater. Oh man. I'm gonna go with David on this one. Moody's. I'm a hater on Moody's for right now. No real reason, just to pick one.
Okay. All right. David, what do you got?
well, Jacob hasn't hated on me for a couple weeks, so I gotta take it, I know it's a bit out of order, but as always, Faith says that she is Mike in the loser spot and herself in the winner spot.
Okay, so who are you a fan of?
I am a fan of God, you guys got me really sidetracked. I guess I'm gonna choose myself. Talking about Johnson & Johnson, I don't see it making huge leaps and bounds. ENDRA, I still see that one dipping just a little bit, so it's going to be somewhere in the middle. Palantir is probably going to be lower bottom, and then Schlumberg is also going to be in the middle because it's not gonna get negatively affected, but it's not going to be a huge positive. So I'll put myself at the top for once.
All right, Mike, who are you a fan of? Who are you a hater of?
You know, I think I'll put ENDRA. ENDRA's gonna sit at the bottom. And I think Schlumberger will be up. I like that. We'll see what happens.
All right, so just to point this out, everyone but Jacob is a fan of themselves.
Like I said, I was keeping myself out of the equation to keep things interesting.
I appreciate that. All right. Well, last week, I had PennyMac Financial Services, and Jacob and David were big haters on that. Jacob had AT&T, and Michael was a hater of that. David had Murphy Oil. Faith was a hater. And then Mike got in on ENDRA at the lowest possible, or at a higher price, getting a lower amount of shares, and I was a hater of that. David had a couple of fans. Faith had a lot of fans. And everyone who is a fan of Faith and a hater of Mike, I just want to say, well, Mike was the overall loser. And if you were a fan of Faith, you were wrong. Not the most wrong, but still wrong. And then, I was the winner and nobody was my fan. I just had some haters out there, so don't mind me just proving the haters wrong. And then
Tell
Mike,
those interest rates drop. We'll see what happens to your stock price then.
we'll see what?
Said tell those interest rates drop, then we'll see what happens to your stock price then.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. But Mike, you are this week's biggest loser. Just because you got in at a higher price by 1/10 of a cent, you got less shares. So when the reverse stock split came, you got 1.28 shares less than Faith. So I mean, you lost by 53 cents. I think if Faith was here, we could peer pressure into taking, a rally shot with you, but
I doubt it. She wouldn't sympathy with Michael at all.
no solidarity in ENDRA. All right.
No. Oh,
All right.
Get the cap open. Oh my gosh.
So, Mike, being the biggest loser, have you ever heard those words before?
A couple of times this podcast, but only in this podcast. Mike went off screen.
I'll have you know that I tried to run a race once.
How many participants did you get?
I don't know. I wasn't there when they finished.
I figured.
All right. Those weaker brain cells, some old Forester. Huh?
All right.
That's good stuff.
That is good stuff. All right. Proud of you for that. That is all I got for you guys tonight. I appreciate you guys hopping on the call and taking the time to do this. Good luck to everyone next week, and can't wait. Don't forget, next week is Real Money Week.
Yay!
I did want to say just real quick, John, I'm extremely disappointed that I didn't see any advertisement for a book that we all have in our homes today called Hi, Skylar. I'm sorry.
You know what?
Hi, sorry, I'm Skylar. I'm sorry. I messed the title of your own book up.
It's okay. I was gonna tie that into how Johnson & Johnson owns the signature new baby scent, and those memories last a lifetime. Well, so does Hi, Sorry, I'm Skylar, which is a children's book for dads to read to their daughters. It's a captivating story by telling the same joke 30 different ways. That tells a story from start to finish. It's impressive that one joke can tell a story. But the author rates it 5 out of 5 stars because that's how amazing the book is. It's me.
Very nice.
I'm the author.
Very nice. I just want to make it clear to everybody that was not planned whatsoever. I was a little disappointed that I didn't get an ad, a plug for that book. So I just wanted to throw it out there.
All right. Well, you got it. You got it. I
Great.
just
Great.
changed the placement.
I love
Thank
it. That's
you.
great. Look at you.
Always prepared.
I love it.
Love it. All right. You guys have a wonderful night.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.